and welcome to another episode of Speaking Plain English. I am your host, Roberta, and we have an amazing guest that is here today. We have our artist highlight, and his name is Cory, but the world knows him as Gypsy. Let's welcome him here. Yay! How are you?
I'm good. I feel honored to be here. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Okay. I'm all right. Okay, so the way that we're going to do this is I'm going to give you 20 questions. 15 of those questions are going to be about you as well as your business. As a matter of fact, you are a business. So you and your artistry. And then we're going to have some fun. That's just for fun.
Sure.
Are you ready?
All right.
Let's do it. Okay, so first of all, Gypsy. Now, would you like me to call you Gypsy or Cory? Which one?
Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay, so whatever you feel comfortable with. Mm-hmm. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Long Island City. I claim Queensbridge and Ravenswood, even though technically I'm from Ravenswood, but my family's from Long Island City in Queens.
Long Island City. That sounds very, very familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, so what made you decide that you wanted to play guitar?
Well, I come from, I'm a second generation musician, so I just always, I know it sounds cliche, but always had music around me. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes you can't fight those sort of things, and that's what led me to it.
Absolutely. So it was just like a natural thing that came to you.
Absolutely.
It was drawn to you per se.
I love it.
Awesome. All right, so are there any other instruments that you play?
Yeah, I play some bass. Everyone starts out on drums. If you ask anybody, everyone starts out on drums. So
I would agree with that. I
used to play some drums. In fact, I had to do that in order to prove to my mother that I was serious about this, from when I was about 11, 12, because she wasn't sure if it was going to be a passing phase, So when she saw how invested I was in it, she eventually got me a guitar when I was about 14.
Because she wasn't trying to waste her money on something that she knows that her child ain't going to use.
Not at all.
I hear you.
Not at all.
I hear you, Mom. I hear you. I understand. Trust. Okay, so let me ask you, do you remember what your first gig was?
Wow, I have to think back a little bit. I can say this. I remember one of my first instances on stage. That was at the Groove in New York City. Mm-hmm. It was during an open mic.
Shout out to the Groove.
Yeah, awesome place. And I just remember I was a young gun, and I was just trying to get my feet wet and get out into the scene. And the resident guitar player, Captain, I'll just call him Captain. That was his nickname. Mm-hmm. But he let me come up on stage with my little mini practice amp. Like I said, this was the initial stages.
You remember how old you were?
I was 19. I was 19.
And you're how old now?
I just made 39 2 months ago.
40 Eve.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry.
Blessings. God's blessing, so I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. But like I said, that was one of my first instances on stage. And, he let me rock, and, I really appreciated it, and I just took it from there.
Wow. Do you remember the song that you started with? I'll put it like that.
No, it was just a jam. Like, it was just an overall jam. I think we might have started with something he started out with, but I was just trying to flow with everything, so.
Awesome. Okay. So name some of the art, because I'm telling you, from what I understand, that you have been playing with lots of artists, well-renowned artists. So just give us a little bit of your resume.
Well, I've either worked with, done sessions with, or on tour with either people like Styles P, Jesse Royal, Naomi Cowan, Etana, JT Taylor from Kool and the Gang, which is one of my favorites. That to this day freaks me out.
Wow.
Lydia Caesar, Jessica Reedy, Ricky Dillard, just to name a few.
Mm. So you've been around for a little bit.
You can say that.
And I don't think I meant to ask you, what do you think is your favorite genre? Do you have a favorite genre? I'll ask you that. To play.
Well, just keep it real with you. Rock has always been in my heart. In fact, that's part of what made me want to play. Like I said, I grew up with music in my ears, but listening to pop radio or whatever, I'm an 80s baby, so.
Shout out to the 80s.
All right.
Yes.
So there was a lot of, great music going on, whether it was Toto or like the 80s hair rock and everything. So that's always been at the core of what I do, even though because of my background, naturally I can play R&B, some jazz, reggae, but that's
Where your heart
here.
is.
Yeah.
And that makes sense though, because you play electric guitar, so you're gonna hear a lot of that. That's pretty much the basis of rock music anyway.
Of course.
So I understand, that makes a lot of sense. So who inspires you? I'll ask you that.
I would say just anybody I come into contact with. And it doesn't have to necessarily even, the person doesn't even necessarily have to be involved in the arts. You just come across people every day and you can learn. There's always some takeaway, whether it's positive or negative. So it's like, this is what I should be doing. This is what I shouldn't be doing. And that's how I look at it.
And speaking of that, let me ask you this. At what moment did you realize that this is it for me?
I would say maybe this high school talent show called Intex. That's what INTEX. I forget what the acronym even stood for. But that was like probably my first performance before my first performance. I was playing bass for the group at the time because my friend was playing guitar.
Okay.
And just the experience, not even so much just the people, screaming your name, but just the energy, and the experience of being up there and being able to express yourself. Can't beat that.
Wow. So you would prefer live, I guess, over studio, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I can. You can say that. I'm a bit of a road dog. I can literally live out of a suitcase forever, But studio sessions is all the same. Studio sessions, I look at it as something different because it's a different. Sometimes it might require a different skill set. There are people who are great live that aren't great in the studio, and vice versa. So I like to do both. To be honest, with you, just to be more well-rounded.
So let me ask you something. Because of everything that's been going on with the, with the pandemic and everything, there's been a lot of people who, especially in your line of work, that have been displaced. I guess you put it like that. So what has kept you going?
Just my overall love for it. It's never gone. There were times where, you might have felt a little anxious, like what's going to happen in the future, especially because everything just effectively stopped. But, it wouldn't be the first time something has happened in life, that could have been jarring. So, you just learn to you just delve into your inner strength and just use that as inspiration. And it made me look at things a little differently too, but it inspired me to just keep going and to just work on some things,
Differently, how so?
Well,
You're going to dig deep.
Sometimes things like this can make you pivot, and you can also see what I'm not saying that I'm not adept at anything else in life, but this can force you to look at things differently. Like I actually also wanted to get into mentoring as well. I'm all about the kids, I'm all about the babies, and just things like that.
I can see that. I can really see that you doing that, definitely. I definitely can. Okay, so Gypsy, where did that come from?
I took that from a Jimi Hendrix biography, I think senior year of high school. I just picked something out. I was looking for some books to read, but concerning artists or whatever, and I just happened to pick this up. Of course, I love Jimi Hendrix. And I just picked up this particular one, and the title of the book was Electric Gypsy. And I was like, you know what? That's going to be it. So I just gave myself that moniker from 18.
Wow. Okay, so you answered that question. I was going to ask you when. Okay, cool. Reading my mind and everything. We're not going to do that. Okay, so what would you say was your most memorable show?
Again, it would probably have to be with JT Taylor, and not that anyone else wasn't, because I'm grateful to have worked with them, but hearing certain people, certain legends, in your ear from the time you're this high, and then now all of a sudden you're in the same room with that same voice and same energy, which, by the way, he's 71, 72, still sounds the same, still killing, still moving, but just to be around that blew my mind.
When was that anyway? How long ago?
That was, I want to say about 2015, 2016. That's when, yeah.
So not too long ago, actually.
Not too long ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I bet you that was a dream come true for you.
It really was. It was
How
awesome.
did you feel when you got that call?
I couldn't believe it. I mean, again, just blessed to even know people who know people. But when I got tapped for that, I kind of was like, are you kidding me? And
Like, nah, really? You
yeah.
messing with me right now, right?
That's how that happened. Though. And it was awesome.
I can imagine. I can just imagine getting called from. My favorite is Brandy. I love me some Brandy.
Yes.
And I say, listen, if you're watching, we're going to work together one day, okay? I'm just going to, whatever, we're going to work together one day. I'm going to do some background vocals, or you're going to come down here, we're going to have, or up here, I'm sorry.
Claim it.
And we're going to, we're going to do something. So, Brandy, when you come to New York, come look me up, seriously.
Let's go.
Because we got some work to do. But anyway, I mean, I can just imagine, like, getting a call like that, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who you've been, like you said, listening to as you've been growing up, and all of a sudden finding out you're about to work with them. And not just somebody that you've been listening to growing up, but somebody who you actually enjoy listening to and admire.
Yes.
So again, Brad, listen, I said, I'm serious. Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. Other than Jimi Hendrix, I'll put it like that. Well, no. Yeah, other than Jimi Hendrix, because you've already mentioned him, if you were able to have the opportunity to perform with anyone, whether they're deceased or whether they're still here, who would it be?
That would, as great as anyone else is or has been, that would be down to two people. I was initially thinking one, but I would have to say two. First being, in no particular order, but first being Michael Jackson, just because...
Yes.
Like, just talking about him is going to make me want to fall out right now.
Woo!
Michael was just
Okay, so
that, yeah. Michael was just that dude.
Man.
Amazing performer, amazing energy, and there's so much you can learn from. Second being Bob Marley. And one would think it would be Jimi Hendrix. Of course, he would be one, but for some reason, Bob Marley just has this, any one of his songs, they just have this vibe, and it just takes you to this place, and you don't even need illicit substances in order to really get with it.
Right.
He just gives it to you on his own.
Wow.
So I would say those two.
God, Michael. I love me some Michael. I love me. One thing that I always said that I wanted to do, which can happen now, that was on my bucket list, to go see him live. And I remember when I found out that he passed, oh my gosh.
What?
I was so destroyed. And I was a hot mess.
Yeah,
a total mess.
You and the rest of the world.
Whew. Okay, we're not going to go there. All right. But one thing about Michael Jackson that I just have to say is that he was just dope till the end.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how many times I actually sat and watched This Is It.
Yeah.
Over and over. First of all, I saw it in the movies. And then when they had it on Netflix, I watched it there too. Did I get the DVD? I think I ended up getting the DVD too. Listen. In my house, I'll put it like this. When we're growing up in my house, we were only allowed to listen to gospel, Michael Jackson, and Stevie Wonder. That's it. That is it, and that is all. Mom, if you're watching, you can verify. I'm telling Dad, too. If you're watching, you can verify. Matter of fact, where's my sister go? She's over there taking that. Okay, so, yes, you can verify. That was the only 3 artists that we were able to listen to. Not artists, but you know what I mean. So, I mean, when I tell you, I used to have his poster. I remember this one performance that he did in tribute to Sammy Davis Jr., as a matter of fact, called You Were There. And I would stand and like do all his moves and everything.
Yes.
My little brother had the red Thriller jacket with the zippers. I love me some Michael Jackson. So not being able to see him live and in person was a mess. I was a mess for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, just watching how he moved and watching how much energy he had and how he was still able to captivate and create at 50.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There are people who are like, my knees hurt every so often and I'm not even 40 yet. So for him to be able to, perform the way that he did up until his last is inspiring and amazing to me. I love me some Michael Jackson.
Absolutely. Hard
I
worker
love me some Michael Jackson. Okay. I'm done with that part. Let me ask you, so how many guitars do you currently own?
I have 3. I am on my way to getting another one. I have to go to Colorado. There was this particular guitar that was gifted to me. Excuse me. That was gifted to me when I was on tour a couple of years ago. It's actually a very rare guitar. It's a Gibson L6. But I have 3, all with names.
Yes, let's go into that. What are their names?
The first one I'll talk about is a Silverhawk. Naturally, it's a silver guitar, beautiful guitar. Silverhawk actually was taken from one of my favorite cartoons from childhood, by the way. From my childhood, which was called Silverhawks.
Oh, that was the name of the cartoon?
Yes, they were done by the same creators as Thundercats, which is actually my favorite cartoon of all time. Absolutely.
Thundercats.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's Silverhawk, and there is Wuda. Wuda is Yoruba for gold, because this particular guitar has a gold color. And the other one is a Telecaster I own named Spanky, because they inherently have a really spanky, funky sound. So that's
that particular guitar.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
And what kind of guitar is that again?
It's a Telecaster.
Telecaster. Nice. Okay, so do you plan to name all of your, do you have a special bond with each one?
Yeah, you spend as much time as possible. Well, with my first guitar, Kala, which was unfortunately stolen from me when I was on the road, actually, a few years ago, I went to Guitar Center to go look for one before my mother, got it for me. She said, just go look and see what you liked. And I had them hold this particular guitar, and I played on it for 2 weeks straight, and they actually held it for me. They could have sold it, but I sat there and developed a bond with it, and that's how I like to do things.
Okay, so we're going to backtrack just a little bit. You said you had a guitar stolen.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. Whoever has Kala, y'all better return them. I'm serious, okay? And you'll know if you have them. If you feel, listen, I'm not playing, because he needs Kala back.
Nah.
The world needs to hear him with Kala again. You don't know what you're doing with him, okay? So just return him. Okay, I'm done.
That would be wonderful.
Listen, my thing is this. I honestly don't believe in coincidences. I don't think that there is anything impossible. So
I agree.
I'm saying whoever it is that may have him could very well see this and feel convicted, which I really hope you do. Contact them. How can they reach you, as a matter of fact?
Email address is blackgypsy, gypsy spelled with a G, not with a J, gypsy1982@gmail.com. That's one form. You can do that.
And what are your, I forgot to ask, you heard about hers too. What about your social media sites?
Social media Instagram handle is Cory, Cory _ strings with a Z, not an S at the end. YouTube is Black Gypsy Music, and Facebook is Cory Gypsy Simpson. Okay,
so for gigs, for lessons, because you do give guitar lessons as well.
Absolutely.
Whether you do those virtually?
Yes, I do. I can also do in person, of course. Everything is safe, and but yes, absolutely.
Okay, and so also return his guitar back to him. That is how you'll be able to reach him. Amen. Amen. Okay, and we're moving on.
All right.
All right. No, seriously, bring him back. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to start with. So how often, let me ask you, how often do you practice?
I practice every day to every other day. Sometimes, life can get in the way, but when it comes to anything that you put your foot into, there's no excuses. As busy as, even despite, I've been blessed to still be active despite the shutdown, and even before that, like I said, things can get busy, but if you want to perfect your craft, if you want to get better, you have to put the time in.
Say that again, please.
If you want to get better, perfect your craft, you have to put the time in. There is no way around it. There are no shortcuts. It's all about the journey anyway, because you wind up discovering things about yourself sometimes. No shortcuts. Hashtag no shortcuts.
Hashtag no shortcuts. I love it. I love it. It's funny because there are people who, they just feel like because this is something that they want to do, or because they enjoy music or anything, at all, that they don't have to actually put the practice and the work in. It's all necessary. It is all necessary, and you're not going to get it right away. You're not going to be perfect right away.
Right.
I mean, it's going to take time. It's going to take some bumps. It's going to take some mistakes, all of that in order for you to, perfect your craft. Matter of fact, I used to sing with, rest in peace, Shay Norman. When we were in rehearsals, one thing that he used to always tell us was perfect practice makes perfect, which means if you're whatever it is that you're practicing, that's what you're going to perfect.
Right.
So, for example, if you practice something that's wrong, you're going to perfect the wrong notes and, the wrong everything.
Exactly.
So in order for you to make sure that you're doing everything correctly, you have to be diligent with it, number one.
Yes.
You have to check, behind yourself.
Yes.
And make sure that you're practicing practicing perfection.
Right.
Because you're going to perfect whatever you practice.
Exactly.
Boom. Thank you, Shay.
No way around it.
Man, okay. All right, so let me ask you this. How long does it take you to, on average, to learn a song that you've just been given?
There's times where I've had to learn a song or a whole set list, like a 30-minute, 40-minute long set list in 10 to 20 minutes, but that's with something as extensive as that. But with a song, it generally take me just a few minutes, just from knowledge of music theory. But I like to spend as much time with something as possible, so in case I want to do something else, which will show how much you practice and how comfortable you are with it. So, but generally just a few minutes.
Do you read music?
I can read music, but it's more along the lines of like, see the dog run. I can teach, like when I teach students how to read, like they're going to wind up being better than I am,
Wow.
So I can do it, but I go by ear and combine that with music theory and you're good.
So you've never actually had lessons?
So I tell people that I did, and I technically really only had 2 lessons, which is why I say I didn't, because after those 2 lessons, I learned the basic chords. I didn't take any more lessons. And I got a book from Barnes & Noble's, which I heard was your previous guest's boyfriend. And it was called Total Guitar by Terry Burrows, and I just locked myself in my basement. I like to, when people ask me if I went to school, I tell them that I went to MHAB, my hot behind basement. So that's how I learned, I read out the book.
Wait.
And that's it.
If you caught it, you caught it. If you didn't, this just went over your head. I can't with you. Wow. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you have any music of your own?
Well, actually I do. I'm currently working on putting something out now. It's just in the process of whittling down certain things. But I'm definitely, especially over the course of this last year, it's like, I always had the intention of releasing music, as much as I enjoyed playing with different people for the experience and everything and just for furthering a career, but I already know I have my own voice, and for some people it's not for them, but for somebody like me, I feel like it's important to be an individual and show who you are. So that's what I intend to do. So it'll be happening soon.
So how soon are we talking?
I would say within the next year, and especially by me saying that, that's going to be the impetus for me to now get on the ball.
Hurry up.
All right.
So is it all instrumental or are there lyrics?
I plan on having a few people sing over certain things, but it's going to be mainly instrumental.
Do you have a title? Okay, we're not going to do that. No, we are.
I actually do. I have a few different titles. Actually, I'll just start off with this. Unabashed.
Okay, so look for Unabashed in about a year, people. Is it going to be from Gypsy?
Yes. Black Gypsy.
Black Gypsy, Unabashed. What's today's date? Today is March 6th, 2021. So we're going to be looking forward to that sometime in 2022. All right. That's fine. Listen, we'll be back here again.
All right.
We will be back here again.
Can't wait.
Listening to it. I'm excited to hear it, seriously. If you guys have not had the opportunity to hear him play, it's an experience. Like, seriously, that's all I can say. Like, personally, I feel like this cat here can make his joint talk. Like,
thank you, sister. Thank you.
I'm serious. And in the way that I can't say always tell when you're on something, but there's a feel. You know what I'm saying? There's some type of a vibe, and this just something that you can tell that you put your heart and your soul into it, everything.
No doubt.
And that's why you keep getting called.
No doubt.
Seriously, and it's you're practicing and your diligence with your craft. and you're stewarding your craft. It's evident. It's evident in your performance. Seriously. So whenever I get to hear you play, when I have heard you play, and even in the things that I like you've recorded, because he's actually done some recording on some of my family's albums. Even you actually did one behind my dad, as a matter of fact. I'm hearing it in the background, and I'm like, I'm trying to listen to my dad because he's reading the scripture, and I'm like, this dude here, good gracious. As a matter of fact, at the not the rehearsal, at the album release concert, I actually stood in front of you, and Anthony Corley, shout out to him as well. He's a bass player, dope bass player.
Yes.
Y'all were back there just killing it. Oh my gosh. And I had to kind of stop singing for a minute because I'm like, what in the what? Y'all doing? So seriously, anytime that you guys get them like good any clips or anything, well, I don't think that they can find you on any clips, can they?
Well, I mean, like, so you can check out my
Unless they
Instagram
look
page, or unless you go to my social media.
Yes, definitely go to his social media pages because you do more of that than Facebook.
Yeah, that, and there are also a few clips of me playing with some of the people I've toured with on YouTube as well. So yeah,
I'm gonna tell you guys one that he just released recently for Black History Month, and just destroyed it. Oh my God. So Sounds of Blackness has this song that was released in the 90s called Optimistic. If you know, you know. Find his YouTube page, and if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the last recordings.
Instagram.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did I say YouTube? I'm speaking things into existence?
All
Okay,
right.
okay, let's say that. But go on to his Instagram page and check that out, because I'm telling you, it was... I've heard you play. I've heard you play several times, but that,
No doubt.
I promise you, makes me want to kind of throw something. Take my. Okay, I'm not gonna do that.
I love the song. Like you said, we grew up with it, and to be honest with you, I wanted to do something different. I know, no disrespect to anyone who's done Lift Every Voice. I know there are people who've killed it doing it differently, but I'm about being an individual, and I wanted to do something totally different. So I felt that song, and that's why I went with that.
That thing. Okay, just go watch. That's all I can say. Just go watch. Oh my goodness. Okay, so one more question. Well, we have a few more, but this is about your musicianship. Okay. So, if you weren't a musician, what do you think that you'd be doing? I
would either be probably, that would be cool, working with NASA. But I would definitely be an astronomer, either an astronomer, a paleontologist, or because I grew up loving dinosaurs. I had like stacks and stacks of books when I was a kid, and also archaeology too. But yeah, I would say between those three things, or maybe a social worker, even though that's a lot of energy. But again, I'm about connecting with people and just helping as well. But the first three, I would say for sure. So you like the sciences? Yes, absolutely. I love it. I'm telling you, a musician that actually has smarts. Let me stop saying that. That's not a common thing, but I mean, I'm just saying. Actually, to be honest with you, there are a lot that you'd be surprised. You actually, and I get what you're saying, but you would be surprised. There are a lot of, I know some intelligent brothers and sisters out there who are musicians, and they're deeper than just their instrument or their voice. That's dope. That's dope. And I'm not to say that, that there's a stereotype that, musicians don't do anything else or know anything else. But it's just that when you see someone who plays something, that's pretty much all you think about. Right, of course. You don't think about, and that's the same thing with like actors and anybody in the arts, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. And well, no, I can't even say that because that's with everything. Or even sports. I would say. Exactly. Even sports, you think of them as just that and forget that they're actually a human being that has other interests and other things that they enjoy. So that's different. No doubt. But it's dope. I have to say, it's dope. All right, so we didn't already delved into a little bit about you. We're going to have a little fun right now with the 5 questions. Oh, boy. All right, so first of all, you already gave us the answer to this. So I'm going to have to ask, you said your favorite cartoon as a kid was Transformers, right? Thundercats. Sorry, that's close. Thundercats. So what was your second favorite? I used to Oh man, I was such a He-Man fiend, to be honest with you.
Can we tell the story?
Yeah.
You can tell the story?
Sure.
Okay. So this is my childhood best friend from kindergarten, right? And when we were kids at kindergarten?
First grade, Mrs.
First grade. We used to play in the playground like he was He-Man, I was She-Ra. But and that.
And we used to call each other bro and sis.
Bro and sis.
Before people were, hey bro, hey sis.
Right.
We were doing this at 6 years old, 7 years old, but we were,
Thick as thieves, as little kids.
Yep.
And life is funny. Life is
It sure
funny.
is.
Just briefly. So I moved, second grade, and then I want to say an adult, 2008.
Yeah, about 2008 or 2009. Yes, one of those.
2008. Definitely wasn't 2009 because I remember coming up. I moved to Tennessee. I moved to Tennessee, and then I came up to visit my family for a few months. And within that window, I went to an event that my cousin actually. It was a concert that one of my cousins had, and come to find out, this one was actually playing for him.
I had seen each other since you moved.
It's crazy. It's absolutely, so life is
Yeah.
and that's the rest is history. I guess you could say he's my best friend to this day, and so I'm just glad to be able to have my best friend as one of my guests.
Come on now, I'm honored, like I said.
Okay, so that's one. Number two. So I want to save this for last. Yeah, I'm going to save that one for last. Okay, so what's your favorite movie of all time?
I want to say The Crow. And it's funny because my other favorite movie would either be The Last Dragon or Enter the Dragon, which is Brendan's father. But The Crow, because, I used to love, you see the long black sweaters and coats, he had the trench coat. I loved that, back when, my hair follicles were still married to my scalp before they decided to get a divorce. Seeing him with his long hair, that's part of the reason why I grew out locks. But there was also a particular scene in there where the main character, Eric Draven, was a musician, and he played guitar. And I remember being captivated by this particular scene when he was playing on the rooftops. Back during the VHS days, I remember, and this is actually partly how I learned to play as well, just from fast rewinding, and watching where they place their hands on the neck. But just watching that, because that's where I was coming into it.
Right.
So that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
The Crow. I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's going to add that to my list of things that I can watch, being that I couldn't watch. I'm not going to be bitter. I'm not going to do it. It was all for a reason. I love you, Mom and Dad. I do.
That's right.
Okay, so what would you say is your favorite way to relax?
Either candles, lighting incense, throwing on the red light bulb, and just listening to chant music sometimes. Or even just literally sitting in silence and just being with your own thoughts, because, being a musician, as much as you love music, sometimes after gigs, and you hear a lot of us say this, we don't want to listen to anything.
I hear you.
We don't, even in the car ride, we don't want to listen to anything. We just want to chill from being in rehearsal all week or from this or whatever, so sometimes I just like to listen to silence.
That's major, though, because sitting in silence allows you time to think, and a lot of people really don't want to do that.
Absolutely right.
And they use music, and they use, even outside sounds to distract their minds from their thoughts. And, that's just something different, I guess you can say, that because not a lot of people like to really take, because I'm going to tell you, personally, there are times when my thoughts can just run away, and then I'm ending up, thinking all these kinds of crazy things. And I can think myself out of stuff, and I'll just think myself into a worry. So, it's good, though, to be able to have that silence and to be able to train yourself to have that time to, just spend with yourself, and that's all part of self-love and all of that wonderful stuff, which we will talk about at another time.
No doubt.
Okay, so 2020. Sum it up in one word and then explain it.
2020. How would I sum that up? I would say growth.
Ooh. How so?
Everyone is forced to sit and deal with themselves because of this. Whether it was also, seeing everything that was going on with the whole nation, the nation had to deal with itself, but being forced to sit down, whether it's with yourself or with your family, sometimes, like you said, the people distract themselves with things. Now you're just here.
Wow.
And you have you can't run from it. You have no choice but to deal with it.
In your face.
In your face. Not going nowhere.
Wow.
So you got to deal with it. You got to go through it. There's no sugarcoating learning and growth. And I would say that would have to be the theme for 2020.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree. And you find some great things that came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have been a lot of terrible things that have come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I think that we all, listen, they've said a 2020 vision.
Exactly.
We've all learned something about ourselves, and as well as the people that we've been dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there are some people, I can say that this has been both the worst
mm-hmm.
and the greatest year. Well, that has been the worst and the greatest year.
Copy.
I mean, there's been so many things that I didn't even realize that I was capable of. This
like
being
this
one.
Right now.
Seriously.
I was already, please come on.
I mean, I wasn't even thinking this way. I'm
mm-hmm.
seriously like, I don't like talking in front of people. I don't do that. But I mean, I have to say that this is growth for me.
Yes.
As well as everything else that is, that I'm doing. And I mean, we've had a lot of losses, a lot of losses. It seemed like day after day, it's like, all right, who else?
Yeah.
Who today? Yeah. Waking up like, okay, what happened?
Yeah.
And even to the point where you see somebody's, like I remember seeing on Facebook, somebody had a flyer up of somebody's picture, and I'm like, oh God, please don't tell me. But it's just saying happy birthday,
right.
or that we're celebrating something from them. It's like, okay, so you kind of like, oh, you brace yourself every time you see that. So that's something that 2020 has definitely taught.
Yeah.
Is to be aware and to enjoy life.
And yes.
Seriously, because you never, ever know. And that's something that I want people to take away from this particular episode. Like, enjoy life. Like, really enjoy it, because you don't know. First of all, you don't know how much life you have left. Mm-hmm. You don't know how much life that whoever it is that you call yourself loving has left. So you want to enjoy life, yourself, and you want to enjoy them as much as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. You don't want to leave here with, you don't want something that Chadwick Boseman said that I will always remember is that he wanted to leave this earth empty.
That's right.
Did something to me. So I take on that. And I'm like, I don't want to leave this world. And that's part of this. There's a lot of things I didn't even realize. Was inside. Y'all going in a minute. Should we wait? Should we not? Do you want to leave that alone?
We'll hold that off.
We'll hold off on that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're going to have to cut that part out. But there's a lot that, like, if you really look within yourself and see the different things that you are capable of, and see the different things that that to get to know who you really are, let that come out. You know what I'm saying? Let that come out of you and deal with it and work on it. If it's something that you feel like you want to improve about yourself, do it. Mm-hmm. Just do it. Oh my gosh, just do it.
Yes.
No matter what it is that you feel like, if you don't feel equipped, if you don't feel like you have this, that, or the other, I have to wait for this to happen. I have to wait for this amount of money to come. I have to wait for this person to agree. You don't have to wait for any of that. Honestly, when God is ready, he's ready.
That's right.
So what you need to do is step and just take one step at a time. If it's for you, everything is going to fall into place. I am watching it happen right now. Seriously. Okay, I didn't mean to get into all that.
People need to hear that. That's the point of this whole thing anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And probably this whole thing baffles me. It just baffles me because I'm like, how in the world did I end up here? This is March?
Yes.
Last year.
Ha.
Just to think about that. Think about where you were last year. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Think about at what state that you were in last year. And if you don't see a change in yourself, number one, ask yourself why. Mm-hmm. Number two, ask yourself, what do I need to do to start today and do it? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to leave it there. We have the last question for you, Cory, and we're going to be done.
Okay.
Give us an unpopular opinion.
You know, I was thinking about talking about someone in particular. And usually I'm very unabashed with whatever, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's no room for tact, you know what I mean? It's with certain things, it is what it is, you know, but I won't talk about anybody in particular. I'm sure you've heard about things or you're hearing about things in the news, but I spoke to a certain somebody about when there is an attack on someone who has done great, or is doing great things, or has done great things, or is about to do something great. And that's exactly it. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, as they say, that's the enemy working. Now, with certain things, it's like I don't condone certain actions. You know what I'm saying? But and then there are other situations where certain things just really actually aren't true. But when you're trying to do good things, sometimes things tend to come up against you.
And with that, we are done. Thank you so much, Cory, for joining me here.
Thank you for
I'm telling you don't even understand how much your presence means.
Thank you.
To me and to this show. And so I appreciate you for taking the time.
You already know.
And once again, bring Carla back. And we're done.
All right.